Thank you for listening for Fat's Sake. I'm Alexis Morales,
I'm Brandy Wiltermuth.
and today we have an awesome special guest. Her name is Laurel, and we've been working with her for the better part of a year, I would say. Okay, so Laurel, how do you know Brandy? I need to know this because I really don't know the answer to this question.
I've known Brandy for almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
She is married to a good friend of mine, Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
and they lived in Big Sky, Montana, where I still live. And they've been gone for a long time, but we've kept in touch and hang out every now and then.
Oh, okay. So you guys were just like friends 20 years ago? Or I guess you
Mhm.
guys still are, but that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've known Laurel as long as I've known Daniel.
Okay. I didn't know it had been so long. I had no idea. I guess that makes sense though, because I know that Brandy had lived in Montana at one point. Or
Mhm.
Daniel's from Montana, isn't he?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
that's where we met and everything.
Okay. Okay. So that's awesome. That's great. Uh, I wanted to know, when did you reach out to Brandy? Because she's saying that we've been working together for about a year and a half, but I remember her kind of telling me that you were a little bit nervous. Maybe you didn't reach out to her right away. When did you reach out to her?
Okay, so I had been dieting low carb about a year and a half probably before I contacted Brandy, and I was doing it myself. I've yo-yoed all through my 20s, always with low carb, and I fell off the deep end. And in 2019, around the holidays, I weighed myself in at like 280 pounds,
Hmm.
and I decided January 1st. Oh no, it was January 1st of 2020 that I would start back at it, and I started intermittent fasting and aggressive low carb, and about 2 months into it, I realized I was going to most likely fail again if I didn't get help. And so I had been contemplating talking to Brandy for about 2 years, and I was just too scared, I guess, to ask for help.
We talked
And
about it once. I remember we met at some skate park somewhere.
Bozeman.
Was it in Bozeman?
Hmm.
Okay. And remember you kind of asking me about it, and I knew that there was a place in Bozeman that like I would have recommended. Um, and you were like kind of interested in that, and that was the first time we ever even talked about anything other than whatever friends talk about, where you asked me more about like what I did and that sort of thing. So that was like a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious to know what you thought of Brandy as. Like, what was your image of her before you reached out to her? What did you think that she did?
Well, through the years, I had known, Brandy was a nurse practitioner and had worked in places that had um, specialized in weight loss. But it wasn't until I think we were in Bozeman that time that we started getting in depth into it
Yeah. So,
about keto and low carb.
were you skeptical at all, reaching out to Brandy because you had done the low carb before? And so, Brandy, I mean, that's what we do here. We teach low carb. We also teach keto and intermittent fasting. But were you at all skeptical if this was going to work or?
No, not keto and low carb. I'm not skeptical about that at all. I was skeptical about me being able to follow through um, to reach my goals because I did Atkins for a year in my early 20s, probably around 2003, and was very successful and gained a lot of knowledge, but I could never stick with it. And so that's what I was skeptical about was my own ability to stay with.
Can you tell us a little bit more about why you weren't able to stick to it?
It's I guess I thought of it as being an I'm gonna do this until, like I need to lose said amount of weight and then I can go back to normal,
Mhm.
quote unquote, normal.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do. And also in my 20s, living in a ski town, was just working and partying and doing whatever. And so I just let myself go time after time.
I think what it is that you have this idea of and knowledge, like you said, of like, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to do, but my lifestyle isn't there yet. And so, as much as I know that that's right or want to be that way, I'm not able to because the lifestyle isn't set yet. And I think, especially when you're in your 20s, the way you socialize and the way that well, not everybody, but the way we did,
Hmm.
it was kind of like in opposite directions of what the low carb lifestyle would look like.
Yeah, I don't think beer is low carb. I think it's all carbs,
No,
actually.
no. And then, like for me, it was a big disconnect between I used to smoke and I also wanted to be a runner. And those two things don't really mix. So by day, I would be a marathon runner, and at night, I would party and smoke. So
Brandy,
that's
the
the
overachiever over
ultimate
here.
example of like these two things can't live together in peace, right? One of them's got to go, and I think that you got to be in the right. It has to be the right time. You have to be in the right mindset. You have to be out of the dieter mentality, which is kind of what you described, Laurel, is like the idea is I just have to get to this point and then I can do something different. I don't have to keep doing it. And the opposite is true too, because like when I ask people sometimes, I'm like, hey, let's just do keto, like for an experiment and see what happens and maybe um, stimulate a little more weight loss or whatever. People have told me that they don't want to do it because they don't want to have to keep doing it. And I'm like, you don't
Hmm.
have to keep doing it. It's just, but that's the part of the dieter mentality too. Like if I do it and it works, I have to do it forever.
Yeah, I
And that's
just
not,
heard that recently actually from one of my patients is that I'm tired of having to think about this all the time. That was what she said. And I get it. I totally get it, but it's sort of like a catch 22, right? Like we sort of have to think about it all the time. I think that we should be thinking about it all the time, but on the other hand, it's exhausting to always have to make these decisions. And Marlene has come on here and told us a billion times that we have to make these decisions like 250 times a day. And that can be exhausting. I
that's
mean,
why I think things like the packaged food programs and that sort of thing can be really helpful for people at first because they don't have to make decisions. It's like when I worked in the hospital, I knew I was wearing scrubs. I didn't stare in my closet and go, now what should I wear to work today? It was like I could pick between the blue or the gray ones, but it was going to be scrubs. So my decision making time standing there in the closet was much less. And that's how we hope it gets for people, that it's like they're looking, at their food choices and it's like, well, I need protein. So what protein am I going to eat?
yeah.
And sometimes those restrictive choices are better because it's less decision making that you have to make.
That's why
Hmm.
I liked carnivore. I didn't like it because I couldn't have a salad, but I really liked carnivore because I didn't have to think about anything. Really. That was nice.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, Laurel, how much weight have you lost so far?
I have lost 75 pounds.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
really a
thank
feat.
you. So today, yeah, 205, and I plan on going another 25-ish. We'll
Okay.
see where that leads, but that's the goal right now.
And what has been the biggest impact that weight loss has had on your life?
Oh, it's all aspects really, I think. The biggest thing is how I feel. I was just so I had let myself get so large I couldn't do activities like I wanted. Snowboarding and um, work was really hard for me, and everything, keeping up after the kid. And so I am just so thankful that I feel healthy and able to do everything I want to.
That's
That makes
awesome.
sense.
Do you feel like you can do this for the rest of your life? I know we just talked about how these decisions and talking about it all the time or thinking about it all the time is hard, but do you feel like you can do this forever?
I do. I do. I think I've it's not always the easiest. And yeah, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but it is. I feel like I've turned the corner.
And my other question was regarding you had said that you'd done low carb quite a few times before and you've lost weight and gone back. Now that you've lost 75, is that the most weight you've lost and is this the longest you've been able to sustain it?
Yes, this is the most. And when I did Atkins, I lost 50 pounds, but that time I had only started at 210. Um,
Okay.
but I probably kept that off a year. I've fluctuated a lot in the last 10 or more years, but this is the biggest change.
Okay.
And when did you get that idea that like this is not a temporary thing? Can you remember?
I would say at least last summer,
Okay.
I was starting to feel it.
And was there anything negative about that? Like some people really then it kind of sinks in that like even if it's not exactly what I have to do forever, I'm going to have to do some version of low carb, and they kind of go through a little bit of a I don't know grieving process around that because
Definitely.
and then they also think in absolutes, you know, they tell themselves things like, well, I'll never have ice cream, I'll never have never never never, and that isn't helpful because A, it's not true, and B, you know it's not true, so you know that you're telling yourself a lie. And then that feels futile.
I'm not saying never for things, I'm not saying I would never have a bowl of ice cream or a pasta dinner or something like that, but those are just, that's just not my normal day to day, um so yeah, definitely I have I go through periods sometimes still of being possibly grieving a little bit, but it's a lot less. And you know like you've said a lot of times, if you plan on something sometime, like having drinks with friends, or maybe having a dessert or something, and that's you planned it, and then
You stuck
that's
to the
it, you
plan.
go, yeah, you stuck to the plan, and then you go back to your normal daily life and lifestyle. And as long as that doesn't get out of control or be more than you want it to be, then it can be okay.
Absolutely. I think that's a hard one. That's like right in the face of dieter mentality. That doesn't work.
What is your favorite thing about this diet? Quote unquote diet.
Like, as in, like a food or,
Yes.
well, last night I made my favorite snack I've ever had, probably, which was crunchy cheese from the mini waffle dipped in hot
Oh
sauce.
yeah.
So walk us through that exactly.
Okay, so I saw it on Instagram, but I have a mini waffle maker, chaffles and so many things, but it's a It was like a handful of Mexican blend cheese and put a couple pepperonis on top and some mushrooms and let that crisp up, just that, and dip it in a little tomato sauce or hot sauce. And it's crispy like a chip, but chewy like melted cheese. And those are two things I need in life: is crispy and cheesy. I think I can be happy forever, seriously, with this snack.
That's pretty awesome.
So
But
do you like close the mini waffle maker, or do you just let it cook
No,
on
no,
the?
no. Yeah, close it and let it crisp up.
Okay, okay.
does it
Oh
break
my god.
apart like chips?
I cut it, and so it's like crunching through, and then you hold it just like a chip. Oh, you could make tacos with it, or the possibilities are endless.
I'm gonna go
It
try
is.
this. I'm
You
gonna go
got
try
to.
this immediately. I like it.
That does sound really good.
I
As
like
far
the
as
chaffles. I don't like their name, but I love chaffles. I think they're delicious.
Me too.
I have mine with cream cheese on them, a traditional chaffle, and like the everything bagel seasoning.
Me too. Amazing.
It's delicious.
if you don't have everything bagel seasoning, you don't know keto.
Seriously.
Oh, so Brandy and I are doing this series of like snacks and stuff that we
Product
keep in the
review.
fridge. Yes,
Yeah.
products reviews. And so I'm curious if you have any, like you cook that snack, but is there any other like snacks or food items that you keep in your fridge that you really love that we can tell our listeners?
I love fat bombs
Okay.
and Premier Protein shakes. I eat those quite a bit.
The most popular.
The most popular. I keep string cheese and mini Baybells and salami. Um, Costco has a lot of keto friendly products these days. I think that's another reason that, well, it's something that helps stay on track. Um, there's these what's it, keynote or high note cookies that we just found, and healthy noodle. Always have those in the drawer.
I haven't tried those yet. I think Brandy has though.
Yeah, the
They're
healthy noodle, they're great.
Are
they're
they?
great.
Okay.
It's the best in like a if you make a soup, or if you wanted to do a pad thai type thing, because they're
Um,
in water, so
And they're
they're
like the shape of pad thai noodles, but you
exactly.
can also use them for like we use them for, spaghetti and meatballs instead of regular pasta.
so they look like tapeworms.
They do.
They do. They totally
Exactly.
do.
Oh man.
But they're pretty versatile and they don't like if you do use them in soup, I like them because they don't just like fall apart.
Do you make your own
Yeah.
fat bombs or are you talking about the packaged ones?
I'm talking about the packaged ones.
Okay.
They're just so easy for me to bring everywhere, and I like the salted chocolate macadamia,
Oh, that
the
one's my favorite too. I
with
really
the
like that one.
vanilla Premier Protein. I like eat them together, bite for bite, or actually I squeeze the pouch in sometimes.
And just shake it up.
Shake it up.
Does it taste good?
Yeah, it
Oh
does.
man.
And then if you're driving or something, you don't have to be like trying to, eat the pouch and drink the drink.
Oh man, I really like those fat bombs. I do carry them in my purse. Like if I'm really hungry somewhere, like it's perfect. Perfect. And it does
Yeah,
keep you pretty full with all the fat
it
in it.
does.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
So Laurel, what are there any disadvantages or negative things that have happened from your weight loss that you can think of?
No.
No? Good.
She
I
thought
mean,
long and hard.
some people say stuff like, "Well, I had to get all new clothes," and I'm like, "Oh, let me call the
That's
ambulance."
that's good though, I just went through that. I just threw away all the big stuff, all of it. So, I mean, yeah, you might have to spend a little bit on getting some new clothes, but it's also exciting to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing that people might have to, treat themselves a little bit here and there.
I think it's a
Yeah.
good confidence booster because a lot of times people are fitting into clothes that they may not even considered because they were bigger and maybe felt uncomfortable in that type of clothing. So it can be like a real big confidence boost to go out and buy that tank top or those shorts or, that
Mhm.
blouse that kind of shows off your shoulders or something and feel, confident in it and ready to take on the world now that you feel good about yourself. It's not necessarily just about your weight, but how you feel, how you look, and how you feel
Yep.
about yourself.
I had a box saved in the garage full of all these shirts, and they were, if I ever get down to this size again, I'll be able to wear this. And it was in the way back, but I was able to pull that out and fit into a lot of those things, and that was really nice
Oh my
too.
gosh, that's really exciting. How awesome. I know that there's tons of people out there, you listeners out there, that have that box. I have
Hmm.
that box of things that I was like, I'm going to fit into that one day. And how
Yep.
awesome is it when it happens? It's happened to
Yeah.
me. And I remember just feeling so good. Like, I did it. I did it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
Some
man. And then they're like some of your favorite clothing items too, usually.
Yeah.
Some of
It's
your,
like I can't get rid of this. I have to save it
yeah,
because I'll
these
lose
jeans were
weight one
really
day.
expensive. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Laurel. I know that you haven't been working with us long, but I know that we're really proud to have you. And you've been in our support group and been incredibly helpful and insightful and a real
Thank
motivator
you.
for the other ladies that are there. You really kind of shine a light on keto. And I know you tell us all the time that you share that with people around you and they're taking to it, which is fantastic.
Couldn't have done it without you ladies. And I've known Brandy forever, but Alexis, I pretty much feel like I know you too because I listen to For Fat's Sake. So you've been in my ear this whole year too.
For the last 2 years, yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to say was this podcast has helped me pretty much in my daily life. I'm so thankful for it. You ladies are always talking about something that's affecting me. It seems like that day, and so I put this on in the car or whatever, and it's just such a comfort to me.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I kind of, the negative way of saying that is we try to brainwash people thinking the way we think.
It
But
works.
the
It
truth
works.
is that we do advise all of our listeners and our patients to spend at least a half an hour a day with these concepts, whether
Mhm.
you're planning your menu or finding new recipes or listening to a podcast that's relevant or whatever it is. And the people who do that become way more successful than the people who kind of are part-time
Yeah.
into the whole lifestyle. And so it really pays off in the long run to just immerse yourself in as much information as you can get. I did want to ask one more thing, Laurel. You did not have a knowledge deficit going into working with us, with
Mhm.
me in particular. You knew what low carb was, you knew how powerful it was, what a great tool. And so it wasn't like some people. I do have to start off by saying, okay, here's what the macronutrients are, and here's what they do in your body, and here's the effect that they have, and here's why we're doing this. I don't have to do that with you. You could teach me probably. Um, so, so was it the accountability, or was it just the ability to bounce things off of me, and then we would tweak things little by little? Or what about working with me? Because it wasn't, like I said, you knew the power of low carb, you knew the concepts very well, you knew what it did. So what did I provide that you weren't getting or wasn't part of your experience already?
It was all those things, really. Accountability is huge. But also just knowing low carb and keto and everything is it's I didn't have enough tools in the toolbox, which you've helped me fill up. So when one thing doesn't work, we try something else, and then maybe go back. And there's been so many things to do, like aggressive low carb or keto or BEAO, or um, just sometimes in your daily life you don't realize how much stress can affect your weight loss, or um, it so many factors. And so talk when we talk about those things, I'm like, why is this happening? Why am I gaining or not losing? And then you remind me of of those various things, and then we're able to tweak and move forward. So um yeah, a little bit of everything. Having help is helps so much.
And what about the tech tools? Do you think that they've had any impact,
Oh
positive or
yeah,
negative?
I do. The Aura Ring is awesome. Um, yeah, you can see how what you're eating affects your sleep and life, and really provides a lot of insight. And the BioSense, is also awesome to see what foods affect you and what way, and things that you can eat and stay in ketosis. And just the more knowledge you have, the easier it is, I feel like. So I love those two things, the Aura and the BioSense, for sure. I'd recommend those to anyone.
How about the CGM? Were you able to get that?
Wait, which one was that?
The glucose monitor?
Oh, yep. I did just do the glucose monitor, and that was super interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
So just for everyone else, um, we we don't use the word bad or messed up or anything like that. We say, "Isn't that
yeah.
interesting?"
In
Look,
so many
my weight
ways.
went up 3 pounds. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Instead of getting down, that's what I tell myself. Once you say it out loud, you can laugh a little bit about it too.
Yeah.
Um, but no, the blood glucose was, things that I thought would not affect at all, did a little, and then the opposite is true. So I would recommend that one too, because I think everybody's different. You can see like artificial sweeteners, or, you know, Red Bull. I drink
Mhm.
sugar-free Red Bull sometimes. Um, and I actually have one more sensor, and I'd like to do it again
Okay.
soon. So,
I think
Yeah.
it's fun. I think it's a ton of
yeah,
fun, the blood glucose monitor.
I
I
think
get a
it's
little
fun.
obsessive.
Yeah, everyone does. It's
I'm like,
part of the process. If you stick with it and start and really gather the data over time, I think it helps reveal things. Like
Mhm,
you don't burn fat when you're really stressed,
Yeah.
mhm.
even if you're eating perfectly. That's a hard lesson.
That's the
That's a,
worst lesson.
that's a tough one. Yeah.
And to explain that to people, I mean, I have it personally, it's happened to me, but to explain that to people is really hard too. Because how do I say you're not going to lose weight because you're too stressed out without being like, hey, we need to like work on managing your stress when part of their stress is their weight?
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It
Ugh.
That's
can be.
why I when I look at a reading that I wasn't prepared to see on the biosense, I tell myself, well, that's interesting too. So, and it kind of helps from letting yourself get down about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just
Yeah.
keep going. Just keep going.
Yep. Just keep going. That's what I do too. Is my mantra is just trust the process. We get stuck here and there, but you just got to keep going.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
So besides our podcast, what other sources of support have you developed around you?
Um, I like to listen to Peak Human too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Um, a couple good friends of mine. Heather and Trevor have been on a um, a mission themselves, and so we share our foods and what we've
Discovery.
made, discoveries. Yep. And I'm also on a messenger group messenger with Alexis and the ladies from the support group, and that's also really helpful. Um, Posting, just if encouragement or more recipes. I love the recipes.
Yes.
And we meet every couple of weeks still and have a check-in, and that's also really nice because everybody's going through the same things.
We all have real lives outside of our weight.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
Alexis, you should maybe explain, like Laurel lives in Montana and she's not a patient of ours here at ThreeHealth. She is in our virtual group and a member of that. So maybe you should tell people more about that.
So the virtual weight loss group is it starts out pretty intense, where we meet like once a week, and we give you a tool, we give you the scale, we also give you the food tracking app, and we really kind of go hard really at the beginning, setting some boundaries and learning about nutrition and learning about low carb. And for the most part, a lot of the people that I see do have some understanding of that. But the main point of the virtual weight loss support group is this accountability factor. So I can see people anywhere in the United States. I have people in California, in Montana, in Minnesota, in Spokane. And so I can see them from anywhere. The accountability factor of people just reminding themselves and checking in with others about the process that they're going through is incredibly helpful. And we've been doing this in our clinic too. People start off real strong and they do really good. But when we kind of lose that touch and connection with people, they sort of drop off, they lose their motivations. And the virtual weight loss support group is really a way for people to build community and support with people all over the United States who are doing the same thing that they're doing, and find support in that. Find accountability, not just with me, but with these other people. They want to be proud of themselves and show that they can do it, and that is encouragement to other patients, and it's sort of like a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for me.
So it's 8 weeks, right?
It's 8 weeks.
And you meet once a week
Mm-hmm.
for an hour.
For an hour. Yep.
And at first, you have a consultation with you to kind of get an idea of where people are and what they're looking for, et cetera,
Yeah,
right?
so you do a private consultation with me, and then we kind of get like a little back history. We come up with a plan, and then we start the 8 weeks of visits where a lot of times I'll have them come into my main support group and chat with sort of like, you know,
The
the
veterans.
the veterans, yes, so that they know that like there is a future with this. This isn't the diet mentality that we are talking about earlier, where there's a start and an end. Like, this will go on, and that there's people out there that will help them and be there for them. So it's really exciting, and I have a lot of fun with it. I think the girls have a lot of fun with it too, and it's something to share with other people that are both struggling but also succeeding in the same thing that you're doing.
Yep.
Cool. And so you started a new one just recently here at the beginning of July,
We
and the
did.
next one will be then in September.
Yes, yes. The
Okay.
next one will be in September.
Okay. Just if anyone's listening and they're curious and want to know, that's when the next one starts.
Yep.
Ladies, I just want to say for people listening, if you're struggling and are wanting to reach out, don't wait a year like I did. Just do it. Reach out. These guys with their virtual, um, you can be anywhere and they can help. So contact ThreeHealth.
Yeah. And we've been doing virtual way before COVID. We're the cool
Yep.
kids. Okay.
Do you guys know that country song? I was country before country was cool.
Is country cool?
We were keto before keto was cool. Anyway, thanks, Laurel. People do need to hear that. They need to hear that you can be anywhere and get the help that you need and get success and
Yeah.
Yep.
support. So next time, we're going to review some more products.
Mm-hmm.
Like in person, we'll have them and we'll try them and all that.
Yeah.
If you guys have questions about or want us to review a product that you are interested in and or want to know if it's acceptable or whatever, send us an email and we'll do our best to get on that. We try not to do too many at once, but there's so many out there.
Yes. And you can find all of our social medias and email us and everything from our website, which is ffspodcast.com for forfatsakepodcast.com. ffspodcast.com.
Thank you, Alexis. I really appreciate the time, Laurel. It really helps to hear from people who are living it.
You got any
Our
plugs?
listeners need
You
it.
want to talk about any plugs?
No, just I'm so thankful for you ladies and helping me change my life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
That's why I
so
stuck around, you know.
yeah,
Good. Thank you. And
thank you.
so, yeah, I'll be talking to you soon. I'm sure you guys are doing your group on next Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think so.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Laurel.
Thanks, ladies.
Take care.
Oh, and remember, fat
That
does not
doesn't
make you
make
fat.
you fat.
Sugar
Makes you fat.
Good job.
Yay.
Okay, bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.